Previously, we returned to the Europan Pyramid, and with the guidance of Eris, we were able to repel the cabal forces present. This allowed us to commune with the veiled statue and deepened our insight into the darkness. We begin the fifth mission, the Mirror, with us in Savathun's throne world. This is where Ikora's the Hidden detected a previous surge of psychic energy. With Sagira's shell and a greater connection with the darkness, perhaps we can delve deeper into the mysteries present. First, though, we need to find the source of this energy. Unfortunately, some pyramid-related technology is causing interference between us and the coordinates Ikora sent us. This is where we turn the corner and stumble upon some Scorn occupying some Black Fleet architecture. After defeating them, the barrier around the pyramid spike goes down, but our ghost detects another nearby. After destroying the second spike, the barrier goes down, and I'm able to enter the Witch's Echo. We acquire deep sight and are able to pass through another barrier where we have to defeat some more spawn. After taking care of the abomination, I picked up some more deep sight, but the barrier didn't dissipate like it did previously. With the path forward not exactly clear, I spent an embarrassingly long time running around in the same room over and over again. However, as I picked up the deep sight buff on my 7th time around, yes I counted, I finally noticed an entrance reveal itself on the west side of the cave. Our ghost reveals to us that the power of deep sight is making these half-forgotten pathways real again by rebuilding them from memory, just in case we forgot what this very important mechanic was. Several riders attack us as we make our way vertically up this chasm using the deep sight platforms. Of course, the real enemy is me as I warlock jump over the final platform. I don't die from this, but have to wait some time in making my way back up. Somehow, my second attempt at this jump went even worse. I tried to overcorrect myself, but that only caused me to take a step backwards and fall all the way back down once more. I grabbed the platform and made it to the top of the chasm on my first try. After defeating the Scorn in the area, I pick up some more deep sight. A barrier is blocking our path forward and I have to destroy a spike. I noticed a hole in the ground next to the barrier, but this wasn't a second entrance or anything of the sort. Instead, it seems like this was a slight map error caused by how the rocks making up this cavern were layered onto each other. I was trying to spot any more hidden holes in the walls when I ended up finding the actual spike. Destroying it also disabled the barrier, which allowed me to move on. Ghost talks to us. He wanted to believe that Sagira was alive after learning that Savathun was impersonating Osiris. He doesn't tell us directly, but it's clear through the tone of his words that he laments not being able to do anything about the situation. At least Sagira will help us deal with Savathun now, one last time, before returning home. A statue of Savathun points us in the direction we must head, so shout out to her. Unfortunately, it's pointing us in the direction of another barrier. This time though, it's blocked by 2 Pyramidian seals. I head back to the main room, and there are 2 separate cave entrances. In each one, there are a bunch of Scorn, along with their respective spike. I didn't realize it at first, but the statue only changes once we pick up deep sight. This is actually a nice touch, and makes me think that perhaps the other statues in the future would do so as well. It also makes me curious as to why these statues of Savathun were pointing in a direction in the first place, and why they changed later on. The corrupted raiders in this much larger site ended up killing me as I ran into them while they were all bunched up together. As I run back in after respawning, they are much less of a problem. This time around, I needed to destroy 3 spikes, but each of them are much more hidden than previously before. Savathun's statue helps me find the first spike by pointing directly to it. I found the second spike by paying attention to the special white glowing markings on the ground. This is also how I found that third spike. I kind of wish that these markings didn't exist though, and that you had to actually look around the map a little more. If we really did need these hints, there are a few more statues of Savathun, so they could have just pointed us in the direction of the spikes instead. That was the mechanic they kind of already established. The path forward requires us to break a much larger spike. It being much larger than normal, while being on top of some pit, almost leads me to believe that it acted as some sort of seal, and I'm not just talking about the barrier in front of us. We entered the next room, and it appears to be some sort of abandoned ritual site. Our ghost is cut off from the light here, and I destroyed the first spike in order to begin the encounter. I noticed Skirva, Avhord Chieftain, make its entrance by jumping into the center of the room from where we previously came from. However, as I'm distracted by it, a raider flanked me and two-tapped me in my back. I almost inch-shot the spike the second time around, but before I let my arrow fly, I noticed that I could actually place a campaign banner down. Now that I knew that raiders would crawl out from the wall behind me, I took the high ground in order to pick them off before focusing on Skirva alone. Knocking out the first chunk of its health was one of the easiest things I have done thus far, because Skirva was just on the ground while I could stand on the platform above it. This is a common occurrence, but there were no other smaller Scorn mobs to draw my attention. They did finally start spawning in as the second phase started though. After taking care of the ads, I dropped my well behind the same piece of cover I used earlier. Skirva also decided to use its legs and managed to sidestep one of my rockets from my Apex Predator. Ravagers also started to rush me down, which meant I actually had to move. This was exactly what was missing from the first phase of this fight for seemingly no reason. Skirva isn't even a full-on proper boss because its name did not appear at the bottom. Regardless, I take care of it after dropping down a second well. I pick up some deep sight after the fight, and some distorted symbols reveal themselves. I jump on top of the metal swing and witness the Witch Queen symbol form. The doorway at the end of the walkway glows and we take the portal through. Our ghost tries to contact Ikora as we have stumbled into a new location, isolated from the rest of her throne world, but we are unable to establish a signal. The Altar of Reflection returns us to the marbled white and red aesthetic of Savathun's palace, which leads me to believe that we found ourselves deep within her chambers. We stumble through another portal and are taken to a similar looking room. It's here that our objective is updated and we can view a memory. After repeating the dialogue we heard earlier, Savathun's thoughts continue. The witness uses the darkness, but it is not the darkness itself. Savathun has spent an eternity crafting schemes of her own and refuses to be a servant to another. She didn't want to join the witness and gain the powers of darkness from it. So Savathun did the next obvious thing and decided to gain powers from the light instead. Of course, she couldn't just show up next to the Traveler the next day, especially due to the strained relationship between the Vanguard and Hive. This is why she took control of Osiris in particular. His hermit-like lifestyle resulted in him not having that many friends. This kept him relatively isolated. This positive was only bolstered by the fact that the friends Osiris did keep in contact with were some of the most in tune with the light, aka Ikora. Finally, after all this time, we are able to get some answers and insight into Savathun's plans and actions. We were also able to learn more about her reasonings and motives. I still have some questions, though the game is working on resolving them. I'm curious as to why Savathun did not want the powers of darkness presented to her by the witness. The first reason why that came to mind was that she simply did not want to have any allegiance to a third party. I mean, she does explicitly say that she does not wish to be its servant, but being a servant is a little different than having, an ally to a third party or gaining a power from third party. In contrast to that though, her gaining the power from the Traveler would be more so her displaying dominance over another entity rather than just accepting the light. This could also tie into how Savathun's pride is just so high that she would rather go through all of this effort rather than just accepting power from someone else. Savathun also did specifically say that the witness gives darkness a wicked shape, so perhaps it's just the witness that conflicts with the sword logic of the Hive and her overall philosophy. In any case, this was most likely the location that Ikora and her hidden found. It is a little odd that Savathun just has this location in her own fortress though. Perhaps it is only because of this location that those imprints even appeared on Sagira in the first place. Maybe the power of deep sight is the power we have that is similar to Savathun's, which is why we can read into them. In fact, they might just be the same power. In any case, the overarching figure of Savathun in the foggy distance is spooky, so we return to Finch for now. Finch boasts about his knowledge that Sagira's shell would point us in the correct direction, which is not suspicious at all. While there could be more sinister implications behind this, I think this line is just more so a characterization of Finch and him just congratulating himself. He follows up with another tip. Savathun has a temple dedicated to her brother, Oryx, the Taken King. This is where he ends up answering a previous question I had. The temple we rescued Sagira from was actually the one dedicated to Savathun's sister, Xivu Arath. It is a little odd that we're only finding out the importance of this temple now, but I suppose it didn't really matter, as we had Sagira as our main goal anyway. Learning of its significance now does add a greater sense of importance to the previous mission though, and explains why that situation was set up like that. It also makes sense for Sagira's shell to have been placed in such a hilly location, which makes us discovering it seem less random than before. Now that we know the significance of the temples, perhaps we can gain further insights by exploring Oryx's temple. This takes us to our next step, the strike, the Lightblade.